The following is an encore presentation of stories from the Dooralong Transformation Centre. Well, if you're a regular, you know that we talked to some of the guys and girls from Dooralong Transformation Centre, but we're doing it a little bit different this week because we're talking to one of the people down there who does some therapy with those guys and girls. So, good morning to Ali.
Good morning.
Okay, now, what therapy do you do?
So I run an art therapy recovery group on Thursday mornings.
Okay, well, we'll get on to art therapy, what it is and how it works, and how therapeutic it is for the guys and girls down there. But you don't mind, Ali, let's just find out a little bit about you to begin with.
Sure.
Okay, so tell us about yourself and what led you into art therapy. I guess you were always pretty good at art at school, eh?
No, I failed miserably.
Good.
I failed miserably at high school in art, not in other things. But I've always been creative, and I guess I just had to find my path, I suppose, of how I liked to be creative, I suppose. So I think I was about 28 and I started to sew, and so I kind of found creativity there. And I've always loved to journal and loved to, doodle into journals and things. So I guess drawing and painting was just just a normal progression, I suppose.
Yeah, sort of craft work, that type of thing. Yeah, and you go to a local church?
Yes.
Yeah, which church do you go to?
So I go to Sword of the Spirit Church at Wyong Public School.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about Sword of the Spirit.
So we are a fantastic church. We meet at Wyong Public School. So it's daylight savings now, so we have our service at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then everybody brings something to share, so we have dinner together after. Okay. And it's just an opportunity to get to chat with each other and really do life together.
Yeah. So 4 o'clock in the afternoon, that surprised me a little bit. Most churches are having their services in the morning around about lunchtime, but you're an afternoon church.
We are in the daylight saving, and then in the winter time we have lunch together at 12 o'clock, and then we have service after that.
And it's a good place to be.
It's fantastic.
It's a fantastic place. So that's Sword of the Spirit. You meet at, where was
Wyong Public School.
Wyong Public School. It's 4 o'clock. Go along, enjoy the service, enjoy the fellowship, and there's a meal afterwards.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Not going to give us no meal.
No, absolutely.
Okay. Food for the spirit, food for the body.
Yes.
That's the way it should be. Okay, so let's get back to the art therapy. So there you are. You're pretty rotten at it at school, but you have this creative side to you, and you think that, I could sort of do something with this.
Yep.
It's called art therapy. How does the therapeutic bit of it work?
So it is an opportunity for people to come and be creative in whatever form they like, without any rules and regulations, and it helps them to stop all the busy that goes on in their mind, and it just allows them to focus on the one thing and to really find peace and healing in their transformation journey.
It's almost like a form of meditation.
It is.
Isn't it? Yeah. And that's such a difficult thing to do in this day and age, isn't it? With screens and telephones and mobiles, and your mind, to the extent that sometimes you can't get to sleep at night, can you? It's running at 100 miles an hour, it's chattering away.
Yes.
And art therapy slows it down.
It just helps to just slow it down and be a little bit more deliberate in spending time doing things and stimulating the creative side of the brain. There's been lots of research to say that there's really good things that happen when we do stimulate the brain, in a creative way, and it helps as part of the healing process, which is what we at Dooralong want people to. We want them to have complete healing and transformation.
That's right, healing of the body, mind and spirit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what could I expect if I come along to one of your art therapy sessions?
You can expect that there will be lots of different mediums that you can use. So you can use paints, you can use pencils, you can use Play-Doh, all sorts of things, and it is just it's an unstructured place. I've been really mindful of what God wants for this group out there, and it's unstructured, where people can come and they can share about what's going on for them or how their week's been, what was the highlight of the week. Often I will be praying over the group, but obviously before I go, and God will either give me a verse or a word or something, and then I will chat with them about that, and then they will either paint something or write things, journal words, whatever that comes from that particular theme or that word of the day.
So when I heard the word art therapy or the words art therapy, the initial thing that sprang into my mind was painting, but it's not just painting,
No, it's not just painting. It could be journaling. It can be using Play-Doh to actually create sculptures, or it's quite a tactile thing, and it doesn't even need to be, when I say painting, it doesn't necessarily need to be a painting of something. It just could be colour on page, because different colours represent different feelings for us as we're going through different events. And I know that at Dooralong we do talk a lot about different traumatic events and how we deal with those then in the future as well.
And here we go again. Ali is still here with us. So we were talking just before that break, Ali, about the art therapy classes that you run down at Dooralong, and how it can be a social thing, but also therapeutic things for these for the participants.
Yep, absolutely. So it provides a place where, I guess, because a lot of the participants have dealt with trauma at some level, and sometimes it can manifest itself in all different ways. Like, it could be anger, it could be depression, it could be anxiety. There's lots of different ways that it will manifest itself. And so by encouraging them to be creative, it's almost like it allows peace to come into their hearts and into their actual being, as opposed to being angry or anxious. And it actually it's a bit of a distraction, so it stops them if they are feeling quite anxious or sometimes even really frustrated and angry, because there's lots of different emotions that people feel during the program. And so it's a neutral place where they can come and they're allowed to be. So they're allowed to just, whatever's going on for them, they can leave it at the door. They don't have to bring it in, and they don't have to answer to questions. If they don't want to talk, they don't have to talk. It's quite a neutral place that has become a place of sharing and, just loving on each other. Yeah.
And we forget, or do we? I don't know. I hope we don't forget that these guys are really doing it tough, aren't they? They're coming off whatever the addiction might be, whether it's alcohol, drugs, gambling, whatever it might be.
Yep.
And you're seeing them perhaps in the early stages of that coming off. They've got so many demons that they're fighting that it really is hard for them, I guess, at times. It's
really hard. And, at times they're away from their family for a long time as well. So that's really hard. I'm a mum, and it's hard to be away from my boys. So, they're away getting better and, making good choices. So it's a real privilege for me to be able to come alongside them and love on them during this journey of transformation for them.
One thing we always ask the guys is, how did you find out about Dooralong? And I suppose the same question is appropriate for you. How did you find out about Dooralong?
So I know Craig, or one of my children plays soccer on the same team.
And Craig is the manager there,
isn't he? Craig's the manager out there. And so I never really spoke to him a huge amount about it. I did notice a couple of the times that he'd come to pick up his little boy, the Salvo's, logo on his shirt. And it actually wasn't until I was driving in the car, Rima was on. It was a Wednesday, and there was actually a Dooralong participant chatting on the radio, and my ears pricked up. And I found myself over the next couple of weeks making a point of listening on the Wednesday. And then I was woken up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I heard the Holy Spirit say to me, you need to be out at Dooralong. And I didn't know in what capacity at all that was. So I went and spoke to Craig and basically just said that I don't know, but God's put it on my heart that I need to come out here and serve. So what capacity do you need me to be here? And he's pretty much just opened up the doors. And
there was no hesitation on your part?
No. I guess I've been in relationship with God long enough to know that if he says go and he puts that fire in your belly, I just go, and I hope and pray that he kind of orchestrates all the other pieces along the way.
He opens the doors.
He does. I just walk through them and go, all right then.
Yeah. So you went along and you had a word with Craig?
Yeah. So, and then 3 weeks later I found myself starting art therapy classes, and, you know, there was a level of anxiety for me in that I didn't know anybody. I only really knew Craig, but it's been such a blessing for me to be able to serve out there, because I've met so many amazing people, and it's such a lovely community, and I'm blessed to be part of it, really.
How would you describe it to somebody who never heard of it, didn't know what you do out there?
It is like a little tiny slice of heaven here on earth.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like a little glimpse of what heaven will be like.
And the staff are wonderful.
They are so beautiful, and, you know, it's such a Christ-centred place.
Yeah.
So, you know, we talk about God a lot, and, you know, the participants are encouraged to be open to that, and so it's quite encouraging for me to see how God meets the participants right where they are and just loves on them, and you know, they encounter him in a really beautiful way.
You get to see miracles happening.
We do.
Yeah, on a regular basis.
It's a privilege, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Are there any standout stories? Not mentioning names or anything that might identify them, but are there any sort of events, episodes, situations where you thought, wow?
There is. I've had quite a few people come into my art therapy class, and they've just chatted about their life. And the thing that I think has been the biggest sort of eye-opener for me is that addiction, there's no one box that addiction, you know, there's not one type of person. It's very much, it just is quite across the board. And a lot of people have come from quite successful jobs and families, and you know, and to see them so broken is quite phenomenal, because even though they're so broken, they're also so open and searching for that peace that only comes from God. So they are very like, on the one hand, yes, it's absolutely terrible, and I walk away sometimes and, you know, I'm in tears, but I feel so much encouragement for that. You know, they're there and they're doing the best that they can to get well. Yeah. And so it's and
you can see changes in their lives.
It's amazing.
It's like a before and after.
Yep.
Yeah. And this happens during the art therapy, or?
Yeah, you know, and I'm lucky enough to be part of the worship team as well out there, so I get to spend Wednesday nights out there as well, mostly, and just getting to, you know, pray over people and love on them. It's a privilege. It's a real privilege.
So you don't just do your art therapy, pack up and go home?
Yeah, no.
You're back there on Wednesday evening?
Yes, I've become quite part of the family out there, which I'm really excited about.
This isn't just a job that you're doing. This is a passion of yours, isn't it, Ali?
Yeah, it's not a job. It is a blessing for me to be able to go and be the hands and feet of Jesus and just love on them without any expectation at all. And
amazing. Do you ever sit back and think to yourself, wow, that God would use me to do this?
All the time.
Yeah, such a privilege.
It's a privilege.
We're talking to Ali this morning, who's running art therapy sessions at Dooralong. And just during that break, we were chatting away, Ali and myself, and we were talking about Ali's hopes and plans for the future. What are they?
So, I hope to be able to be out at Dooralong for as long as they'll let me run these classes, because I love it and I love being part of the worship team. It's just a real privilege to be able to serve these people in their, you know, where they're at in their transformation journey. And I'm going to, our littlest boy goes to kindy next year, so that means I have a little bit more time up my sleeve. So I'm going to go and do a certificate for in leisure and health at TAFE, which basically will mean that I'll be able to go into places like hospitals, aged care centres, places where people have had brain injury and stroke or dementia, and be able to program leisure activities for them that are beneficial for them and will, be a blessing to them.
Quite a science behind this, isn't it? It
yes.
isn't a question of just going in and there's a nice scene,
yeah.
Why don't you paint that?
No, it really does. It invokes, creativity for people is such a, it just invokes such lovely feeling and, oxytocin in the brain, and, there's quite a lot of research that's been done that would say that it's quite a positive part of transformation journey in whatever form.
And that's right, it's a recognised form of therapy. I think probably we've all seen TV programmes where art therapy is taking place in psychiatric hospitals and things like that. Yeah. Now you've got some young kids. You mentioned Eli, your smallest.
Yes.
What do you tell them about where Mummy works?
So we've got two little boys that are probably not big enough to understand quite what goes on. I have spoken to them about that Mummy goes and these people have taken some medicine that they thought would make them feel better but hasn't really. So now they're taking time away from their families to get well so that then they can go and be a really good mum or dad to their children. Our eldest son is 14, so he has a little bit more of an idea, though he thought it was so incredible that, you don't know anybody, Mum, and you're going out there. And I'm like, yeah, but God really put that fire in my heart and my belly, and I went knowing that he would already have orchestrated the things that needed to be in place, and it's just like I've slipped in and it's like I've been there forever. It's quite amazing, really.
And just finally to wrap up, Ali, what is it that you have perhaps not so much what the guys have learned and sort of got from it, but what have you learned about people in addiction from doing this? And, well, not just people in addiction, but people who you said earlier are sort of having some sort of trauma in their lives.
I have learnt that everything that I thought I knew, I don't know anything about what people in trauma and what in addiction look like. There's no one type of person that falls into addiction. It's quite a broad.
So there's no one sort of, he's a drug addict, she's a junkie, he's a gambler. Yeah,
no, there's none of that. And what I have learnt most is that every single person that's walked through the door into my art class is actually so beautiful and, is very, very much hurting, but they just want someone to love on them. They really just want that support, and and if I can help them to meet Jesus, then that's more than enough for me, really.
Yeah, it's like somebody once said to me, when Jesus looks at somebody who's fallen, he doesn't see the sin. He sees through all the crust and the crud of the surface, and he sees beneath all that to the original that person was meant to be.
Absolutely.
And like you say, you've learnt that when you scratch away at the surface of these people, they're just diamonds.
They are diamonds, absolutely diamonds. It's a privilege to be able to walk with them through this journey of transformation.
Yeah, and you'll be back there tonight. It's Wednesday.
So my church is leading worship tonight, so that'll be pretty awesome. And then I'll be there tomorrow morning running my art therapy class.
And when you say lead worship, are you going to be singing?
I am going to be singing. I do. It is the favourite. It's my most intimate time that I can be with Jesus when I am worshipping, because all the busy that happens, you're a mum and got all these things going on, and when I am singing, it's like it's just Jesus and I, and we get to be together, and it's quite lovely.
So for other people, it's art therapy that you run, but then you need time, and that's singing.
That's absolutely. I get filled up.
So that's the equivalent for you.
Absolutely.
Your time with Christ alone, just singing.
Yep.
It's been an absolute delight talking to you, Ali, this morning. We're just so grateful that you are so faithful to God's calling upon your life, and so generous in just rocking up there and saying, "Here I am. Let me help you."
Yep.
It's really been sort of mind blowing. So thanks again, and we
My
just
pleasure.
pray God's blessing on your life and
Thank you.
and all the work that you do, and all the guys and gals out there. I'm sure they're listening now and sort of cheering you on. So
I hope so.
yeah, thanks again, Ali. Thanks very
Thank
much. You've been listening to an encore presentation of the Dooralong stories, which can be heard live every Wednesday at 10 a.m. and repeated at 8 p.m. Sunday and 1 a.m. Wednesday, right here on 94.9 rema.cc.